Talk to one of those folks who's governing with the president. Joining me now, a member of the House Freedom Caucus and the DOGE Caucus, Congressman Michael Cloud from the great state of Texas. Sir, welcome to the briefing.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Joy Reid is crying her eyes out because I guess she's been found out. The country's turned on MSNBC, but these Democrats, as you heard, keep doubling down on stupid. Abortions for 12-year-olds, they say. Condoms in school vending machines. What is going on with the Democrat Party right now?
You would have thought they got the memo on November 5th when the American people spoke loud and clear that they wanted a course change. They did not want to keep going down the road of woke, as we've seen over the last 4 years. They don't want the wasteful spending. They want action. And President Trump has been delivering on that. Day one in office, and it's certainly refreshing to see. And you would have thought that they would have maybe come along with this, but they keep buying down on it, and we see it in DOGE committee all the time. They keep it's just mind-boggling. Yeah,
it is, because they're standing with the bureaucrats as well as the 12-year-olds need abortion crowd. This new poll from Harvard-Harris that we mentioned, 76% of Americans agree with the president's plan to eliminate government fraud and waste, yet the Democrats keep trying to oppose it. The president keeps pushing forward on it, and then today we find out that the head of Apple, Tim Cook, is saying he's going to put $500 billion invested in the American economy and create 20,000 jobs here. I suspect that's because of the tariffs. They don't want to do as much business in China or Mexico. Apple's putting $500 billion in America, sir.
Yeah, and this is exactly what people voted for with an America First agenda. We want the jobs back in America. We don't want to keep sending this overseas. And then is it any shock that the people paying for the bills want a good ROI on their investment? Of course the taxpayers want to see a government that's functioning, streamlined, that's efficient, that we don't have all the waste, fraud, abuse, and even now that's been uncovered over the last few weeks, the massive corruption, really the world's largest money laundering scheme in all of history. We've seen throughout our federal government the billions and billions and billions of taxpayer dollars that's going to nefarious purposes even sometimes. American taxpayers are tired of it. And is it any wonder that they're massively in support of this effort? Yeah,
and when you talk about corruption, the American people are tired of the liberal lawfare. They tried to put President Trump in prison multiple times, as you know, while looking the other way on Hunter Biden and the laptop and all the crimes and the Russia collusion hoax by Adam Schiff and other Democrats. So now the president comes out of nowhere and says, you know what, I'm pulling Dan Bongino out of his podcast that's making millions of dollars. He said, I'm willing to put that money aside and serve the American people as deputy director of the FBI and work with Kash Patel. What do you think about Dan Bongino coming in and trying to lay down the law? What do you anticipate?
Well, this is awesome. You know, the team that President Trump's put together, Don Bongino being the latest installment over at the FBI, this is exciting. This is the restoration of law and order. It's getting these agencies, the FBI in this case, back to doing its core purpose, its core mission, getting out of all the craziness, the woke, the DEI, and in the case of the FBI, we have actual weaponization against the American people. And so getting them out of labeling people, parents that go to school board meetings as terrorists and people who are praying outside of abortion clinics and all this kind of stuff. We're going to stop targeting that. We're going to go after the criminal element and get back to protecting America's communities.
Imagine that. Final question. You mentioned DEI. The president, as I mentioned at the top, has sacked the Joint Chiefs chairman. And said, look, he's not getting the job done. The left is falsely claiming it's because the general was black, even though it was President Trump who named the same general the chief of staff of the Air Force. So race was not a factor. And now the president says the retired General Kane, he always talks about Raising Kane, who was helpful in his first term. He now puts him up to be Joint Chiefs chairman. It's got to get through the Senate. And a reporter from the mainstream media today tries to say that General Kane is not qualified for the job. Defense Secretary Hegseth had an answer for that. Watch.
Why did you select an underqualified retired lieutenant general to be the next chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff?
I'm gonna choose to reject your unqualified question. Who's next?
Somehow this reporter denigrates the service and says that General Kane is only a 3-star who's a retired lieutenant general, so he's unqualified. And Pete says, you know what? I'm not going to take your unqualified question. What do you think about the boldness, the bluntness of this administration?
It's awesome and it's refreshing. You know, they're not going to play the bureaucratic games. They're not going to kowtow to the liberal media that has an agenda. We're going to come in and get the job done. That's exactly what we've seen. Just a seriousness and really a dream team that President Trump has put together to work on behalf of the American people. And you can tell that they're mission oriented. So many of them, like you said, putting aside jobs where they're taking a much lower pay to serve the American people and to bring that heart of service for the American people.
Absolutely. Dream team is a good way to put it. We'll be talking about that all show long. We appreciate you kicking it off. Congressman Michael Cloud, great state of Texas. Sir, we'll hope you'll be back soon.
Yes, sir. God bless y'all.